Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell. It's all in your hands. Besides, you know rich people. I never thought of that until now. I don't understand. Take her to different receptions, and she'll be noticed. Miranda left her friend satisfied with the result. She had learned everything she wanted for her son. For his sake, she would do anything. Her boy shouldn't need anything. He'd had enough bad luck in life, but now they'll be fine. The main thing now was that he should graduate. Kelly was sitting in her room as usual, reading a book. She had heard that her father was back from work, but he hadn't come to her room yet, so he was still busy. As soon as he is free, then they will definitely have dinner together like they always do. True, she had a serious talk with her father tonight, even though he was always trying to avoid it. Today she was determined to talk to him. As time went on, her father didn't show up, so she decided to go downstairs herself to ask him when they would have dinner. Everything in their house had been made for her, so that she could be in the rooms unobstructed and move about quietly, somewhere to pray. She found her father in the study, sitting at his computer, writing something. "Hi, I thought you'd forgotten about me. Turns out you're still working." "I am, daughter. My analytics department's all pissed off. They fired the hell out of everyone. They don't check at all. It's terrible what I pay their salaries for. I have to double-check everything in the field myself. Can I see it?" "Sure, come here." Kelly rode up in her wheelchair, looked in her father's computer. It was a mess. She immediately told him where it needed fixing first thing. And then she looked at her father with a satisfied look. "Dad, I've told you several times, let me help you. Besides, I like it myself. Take me to you after the institute and believe me, you will never have problems with the analytical department again." "I see, Kelly. I just wanted to save myself the trouble. You're a smart girl, and everything I'm doing right now is for you. I actually wanted to send you overseas to get some rest. Travel for work. You'll have time for that. But I'm watching you run things now. I feel like I need your help more than ever. I'm really glad you finally realized that. Now let's go to dinner. Not too hungry. They've been waiting for you for a long time. Come on, we're good. I'm pretty hungry myself, but you saw it. I had to figure out what they'd done to me. Dad, they don't check your data at all. That's a big mistake in analytics, but I already realized that. Then you're gonna take over the department because I've got enough work to do. I'll send the data to your laptop for now, but when you graduate, you come straight to me. I'll even set up an office for you. I'll even have an office set up for you." Okay, Dad, now go to the kitchen, or our Aunt Clara will be nagging again, because dinner is probably already cold. "You're right, that's how our Aunt Clara is. It's best not to mess with her. But I think you stood up for your father, because I'm the one who's going to get the blame." "Good, I have a way with her. I know how to calm down our angry Aunt Clara. What about us? You'll see." They walked to the living room, where the table had long since been set. For as long as Kelly could remember, they always ate dinner in the living room. It was their family's custom. In fact, she had nothing against it. "We're waiting for dinner," shouted the father, and looked at his daughter cheerfully. Soon, Slaga came in, grumbling that she had cooked everything a long time ago. Everything had cooled down long ago, and she didn't get up to reheat her masterpieces 20 times. "It's all your fault, Robert. Your job comes first. What am I supposed to do? I work hard. I cook, and you don't care about my labor. You're about to have a warming meal. You're pretty tasty. I'm always talking about what I've been pulling. This time I held up my dad, but I proved to him that in his job I'm indispensable. He's agreed to let me run his analytics department. So you can be happy for me. Kelly, so you're gonna work with your dad now, just like you wanted. Oh, that's great. Now, without further ado, let's eat dinner. Let's make sure everyone eats. I worked so hard tonight. I think it's delicious. You always make everything delicious. I promise my daughter and I won't be late for dinner like this again. Okay, I believe you. Kelly, if you say it, it means it. The father looked meaningfully at his daughter, and she smiled her beautiful smile. How much like her mom was she? Especially when she smiled like that. How are things going at the Institute? You're not seeing anyone. I've just noticed you've been different lately. Did something happen to you? No, I'm fine. I just really wanted to work for you, you know. I'm almost done with school. And then it just felt like there was no point. And then you were always against me working with you. I was really depressed about it. And I felt like you didn't need me. Don't be silly. But how could I not need you? I just wanted you to get some rest. Well, I've explained. But if my daughter wants to work, I'm happy to do it. So don't worry, it's fine. While you're still getting things done, like I said, I'll get your office ready so you're comfortable, but you're welcome there. I look forward to seeing you with great pleasure. Robert was pleased. He saw that he couldn't do without his daughter's help, but I didn't think his daughter would want to work for his company. After all, she's disabled. He was always afraid for her. It was especially scary to see how people looked at her with some pity, some anger. And his heart always jumped out in anger. But now he saw that his daughter had grown up, that she herself perfectly coped with all the hardships. And the fact that she is constantly in a wheelchair does not bother her at all. Besides, as she recently told him that the strength is not in the legs, but in the head, she's right. The next day, he gave the order to prepare the office next to his office. Many people began to murmur, realizing that he was doing all this for his daughter. Robert's secretary at lunchtime told her friends in HR in confidence, "Now we're gonna have a handicapped person working with us. Her daddy's going to arrange everything for her. Why do we need her here to feel sorry for her?" You shouldn't say that, Vika. Kelly is a beautiful girl, and she's very smart. So enough with the slander and the talk. You better get on with your business. Besides, if your boss finds out, you won't last long. He adores his daughter. It's not her fault. What happened? It's nobody's fault. Besides, the girl grew up without her mother, who died in that unfortunate accident. So why feel sorry for her? She has everything. They don't need anything. Besides, she's used to it. She's probably a rich girl with a daddy like that. Plus, she's handicapped. I imagine Anna's all out of sorts and said, "Stop talking, and then you're on your own. If you don't stop talking, you'll be out of a job." You got me. Kelly sat on the porch of the Institute, waiting for her friend Christina. They had been friends since first grade. She told her father about her then. He, of course, made inquiries, said that her friend's family was good, that her father was an engineer and her mother was a pediatrician. Christina's father was having a little trouble at work at the time, and Robert helped him. This brought the two girls very close together, and they were now going out together all the time. Kelly also wanted her father to take her friend to work with him, but she didn't know how to convince him. "Kelly, you've been waiting a long time." "Sorry, I was just picking up my notes from Bobrov. I'm sick of taking them into eternity and then having to run after them. I need to get them back." "Why are you so happy? Did something happen?" "Yeah, I talked to my dad yesterday, and he wants me to work with him. I finally talked him into it. I haven't talked about me yet, but I think we'll find something for you." "Maybe you shouldn't, Kelly." "What? What if I can't handle it? And there's a lot of things we're grateful to you for. If it wasn't for you, I might have been expelled my sophomore year. You realize I'm weak in a lot of subjects. You're the smart one. I'm mediocre. My mom said it was a miracle I got in. I should have gone into teaching. That's my limit. Don't be silly. Your mom can be wrong sometimes. She's a doctor, but she doesn't believe in you. And that's her fault. Okay, Christina, let's go home. Aunt Clara's baking fascinated today. She told me to make sure you came. And I'd love to. But my mom's gonna be mad again. She always does. When I praise Aunt Clara's food, she starts nagging, saying that of course, if she had as much time as your nut, she'd make a masterpiece. But Dad and I know our mom can't cook at all. I see you guys are having fun. I think if my mom were alive, we have the same thing. Kelly, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I mean, I'm telling you about my family, and you're sad. But I'm not being mean. I know it's okay. It's just something I said. Did you go to Christopher, the driver? He's waiting for us. Listen, Kelly, this Christopher of yours, he's single. I keep meaning to ask you, but I keep forgetting. He's not. Why do you want to know? Do you like him? I like him a lot. I like guys like that a lot. I mean, look at him, like he's on the cover of a magazine. I didn't know you liked guys like that. Do you want me to introduce you guys to him? Oh no, that's okay. Wouldn't you look at someone like me? You're being modest again. Chidge. Christina, you knew you had very low self-esteem. You can't do that. You need to rethink that. They got in the car and drove to Kelly's house. Christopher, then only Christina needs a ride back home. She lives far away. That way we can study for exams together. Study late. What do you say, Kelly? I'll do it. I'll drive her. Does he call you by your middle name? Did Christina giggle? That's what Daddy requires. The girls didn't speak again on the road. Kelly thought about what Christina had told her. She didn't know how to introduce her to Christopher, and thought that her friend would probably have a chance at that when he took her back home. It was just that Kelly herself had never had a boyfriend, and she didn't know how to get acquainted at all. She decided for herself that she was going to be alone, because she really realized that no healthy guy would want to be crippled. There were certainly some guys at the Institute who picked on her, but she could see that their interest was not in her, but rather in her father. Miranda glanced at the time and frowned. The whole sun was late again, and she understood the reason why he was with his girlfriend Lisa again, and what he found in her that he just couldn't break up. It's not right. It's not his time. It was a shame that no matter how she explained it to her son, he didn't listen to her at all. Once again, he should have been home long ago, but he was still gone. Finally, she heard the front door slam. The son threw his keys on the nightstand and started to develop. Hi, Mom. Why are you so glum? And you're still asking? We agreed with you that you, after the Institute, immediately go home. But I see you don't care about my requests. You were with your Lisa again. Mom, I told you that I love her and that she's the girl I want. I thought you agreed with me. And we agreed that I would do whatever you told me to do. But she would always be there for me. You understand, son, the minute you start courting Kelly, her father's gonna start making inquiries about you. He's gonna find out everything. And that's where we're gonna get in the way. So think again. Talk to her and tell her that you need to break up for a while, but she has to understand. Okay, Mom, I'll talk to her. But you realize it's not as simple as telling her I have to marry another woman. How can I tell her it's all about the money? She wouldn't understand. She'll understand perfectly well. I've seen her, and I know this type of person. She'll do anything for money. So you can tell her. You'll see she'll agree to anything. Just don't tell her the truth. You can't trust women. Just say that you have to hit on a rich girl just to get a good position. Because if you tell the truth, everything will fall apart. Robert will be reported immediately, and we'll be left with a broken trough. And do you realize then that we'll lose time? Smart boy, and not only smart, but very handsome. So I think you can do it. The important thing is that Lisa doesn't get in your way. So weigh everything and think about what's more important to you. And also think that you're going to have a lot of Lisas. There was no Stephen. What to say to his mother? He himself had long dreamed of having a car. He liked the branded things he saw in the store that were out of his reach. Besides, who doesn't want to live rich? Even if it means marrying a coworker. Mom's so sure this girl will even want to talk to him. What if she has a boyfriend? What if she's happy? Here I am with my suggestions. I checked. Son, he's single. But you're right, Kelly. The girl's very smart, so don't expect her to jump into your arms right away. You think it's that simple. No. My dear, you're gonna have to woo her. And you're gonna have to woo her hard. You know what I mean. because she's not going to throw herself at you right away without even thinking about it. So you're saying she might refuse me? Naturally, you're not as smart as I thought you'd be. You think if something's wrong with her, she should come running to you. No, she's been smartly provided for since she was a child, never denied anything. It comes up, you'll believe it, she won't even pay attention to you. It's all up to you. If you want her to fall in love with you, you'll do whatever it takes. Well, you know what I mean. Because I've done everything for you. Now it's your turn. And please don't upset me. He didn't see that coming. For some reason, in his fantasy, everything was so simple. He sees Kelly, she sees him, and she agrees to marry him. And then he goes back to living the life he wants. But it's not that simple. Like his mom just told him, he didn't say anything. He went to his room to think for a while. First of all, he decided to take a closer look at Kelly. His mother had told him about her a long time ago, but he always thought it was nothing. But his studies were coming to an end, and that meant his mother's plan had to be put into action. He opened his laptop to look at the pictures of Robert and Kelly. He was very surprised that she turned out to be quite a nice girl with a very beautiful and gentle smile. For some reason before, when he heard about her, he thought she must be very ugly. He looked online at her pictures and thought it wasn't all bad. She's pretty and seems very naive, so it wouldn't be hard for him to get to know her better. Plus, he'll know what she likes and how to approach her. Mom's right about Lisa. You have to break up with her for this kind of thing, so she doesn't screw things up later. He regretted telling her about her plans, but he was smart enough not to go into details, and he has to have a serious talk with her tomorrow. But he still needed an approach to her that he couldn't think of. He went to Lisa's page to admire his girlfriend. When he saw that she had pictures of their mutual friend John, he didn't like that very much. He decided that this would be the reason for their breakup. In the evening, when he sat down to have dinner with his mother, he saw that she was waiting for a response from him. I understand everything. Tomorrow I'm breaking up with Tanya. Believe me, everything you've done for me won't go to waste. So you can count on me. Thank you, son. I knew you were a smart boy. Believe me, I'm not getting any younger every year. And that's why I want to live a normal life, thinking you'll do well. The next day at the Institute, a happy Lisa came up to Stephen to hug him and, as usual, then dip him on the cheek. But he dodged, grabbed her hand and took her aside. Why didn't you tell me that when you talked to John? I realize we are friends, but I didn't think his picture would be on your social media page. Why didn't you tell me? So it's just a photo. Stephen, what's wrong with you? Would you like it if I had a picture of your friend? What would you say to me then? Stephen, but I didn't think it would make you so angry. I don't even remember when I had it there. But I felt awful yesterday when I saw it there. I also felt bad when I saw your heart emoticons. How do you explain that? That's how the press makes jokes before. You know John. And believe me, I didn't even pay attention to it. I don't believe you. You're obviously enjoying this. So just so you know, I don't like it at all. You got me. They nodded anxiously, glancing at Stephen. He needed her to be completely oblivious to that recent conversation when he had told her that his mother wanted to get him a good job. Just at that moment, John walked up to them and playfully pinched Lisa's waist. It was just what was needed. Stephen looked at Lisa with a frown. He didn't say hello to his friend, but silently turned and walked away. He smiled to himself, realizing that it had turned out even better than he had intended. John caught up with him, grabbed his elbow, and said, "What are you doing, friend? I just did it without a second thought. Believe me, I would never come between you and Lisa." There she is crying. Why don't you explain what happened? I don't have to. So you stay out of it. Is that how you're raising her or what? Tell me honestly, are you my friend or not? Of course I'm your friend. I'm always there for you, and you know it. Now, Lisa cheated on me, and you'd better stay out of it. Got it. How did Lisa cheat on you? There's no such thing. What's the matter, Stephen? It's smudging. So let her suffer a little. It's good for her. Don't feel sorry for her. I'm afraid she's gonna turn on you. She's not as saintly as I thought she was. They change guys like gloves. I got proof. But I'm not gonna get involved in this mess. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. I wasn't expecting that. All right. Well, whatever you say, I'm always on your side. How upset are you? What do you think? We've been together for so many years. It's a shame to know your girlfriend's not faithful to you. I'm right. It's not nice. Well, that's okay. I'm looking at the world in a more cheerful way. We'll graduate soon. We'll go to work, and everything will be fine. There will be more beautiful girls. I'm right. Stephen nodded, and they went to their classes. True, he felt a little bad at heart that he had done that to Lisa. But he had no other choice. Now he realized that his mother was right about many things, and he would have a lot of Lisas like that. And now he had to get ready to study. There wasn't much left. The first day of work at Robert and Stephen's company. He didn't expect such a big deal. Only now he realized how rich this man was. Very smart. Mom is right, of course. If he married Kelly, he would have everything. But he also realized that it wouldn't be so easy to marry Kelly. It's all in his head, as easy and simple as he thought it would be. Now he'd seen the seriousness of it, realized it wasn't that easy. Robert wouldn't give up his daughter. He would still have to fight for her, but he was not afraid of that, because he understood perfectly well that as soon as he became his son-in-law, all doors would open for him. That's exactly what he needed Mom to do. I didn't see that one coming, of course. Listen, thank you so much for getting me this job. I wouldn't have gotten a job there on my own. I'm thrilled. Now I know exactly what you mean. Well, Mom's got good advice. Listen to me carefully, son. It's all up to you now. Work hard to get noticed. Then another piece of good news. His daughter will work there too. I mean at this company. So that makes your job easier. But it's up to you. She'll be working there too. What's she gonna do? I don't know yet. A friend of mine told me today. The office is ready for her. I already know who she'll be working there. In the meantime, why don't you mind your own business? I hope it works out for you. It's working, really. Absorbed Stephen. He loved what he was doing. Plus, he was noticed as an excellent worker, and within 3 months he was promoted. Of course, not as big as he would have liked, but in 3 months to rise, even if only one step, it was already a result. You're good, son. You're a smart boy. I'm glad I raised a son like you. We're gonna make it. Did you find out about Kelly's? 'Cause I've been working there a long time, but I've never seen it. Have you ever seen Robert? No, not yet. He doesn't come into our offices there. And there's nothing for us to do in his office. So we're just going about our business. That's right. His daughter is with him all the time. So it's up to you. Boy, you try and you will succeed. And Stephen tried. He did everything he could to get one more step up to where the big money of the connection was, where he could finally feel like a more important person. Kelly arrived home, and the first thing she did was head to her father's office. She wanted to talk to him about her friend who would also like to get a job. Christina had called her in the evening and told her that her mom was sick, that she needed a large sum of money. But she can't do anything because where she works, the pay is very low, and she probably can't afford the medicine. Dad, I can come in. It's okay. No, daughter, you know you never bother me. I see something's wrong. Trouble at work. No, I'm fine there. It's something else. Remember Christina, who we've been friends with since college? Well, she's got family problems. I'd really like to help her, but I need money. A job or both. You can hear me out. So tell me, my aunt is very sick. She needs medicine. You know very well how expensive it all is. Christina and my father are working, but they don't have enough. They need treatment now, so I'm offering to help with money and work. She's a smart girl. Trust me, she can handle it. Let's help them, Dad. How can I say no to you? I'll talk to my deputy tomorrow. I think he'll take her in, get her a job. But don't worry about the money. I'll wire the money to her account. Just give me her card number and the amount. So don't worry about your mom. We'll help her." Kelly looked at her father with pride. She always liked how he was quick to solve problems. She had always dreamed that if she ever fell in love with a man, he would have to be like her father. "Thanks, Daddy. I'll call her right away." Kelly dialed Christina's number and was very happy when she answered right away. "So, send me your card number and the amount you need for your mom's treatment. Tomorrow come to our company and your father will give you a job there. Everything will be fine. Don't worry." "Well, it's not right. When I told you about this, I didn't mean for you to help me with money. Believe me, I'm not friends with you for money, but only because it's a very good person and a great friend. Christina, don't worry. I know how you feel about me. I know you're not friends with me because my last name is Robert. So why can't I help you? Just because I can. I think if you were me, you'd do the same thing. Wouldn't you?" "Thank you, Kelly. You're the most wonderful friend I've ever had on Cindy. I'll get my mother's meds today, and I'll come to your company tomorrow. Believe me, I will do everything I can not to let you down. I'll do my best." A new girl came to the company. Stephen looked at her with interest, and also thought that she wasn't bad with herself, and that he wouldn't mind hitting on her. But then a coworker whispered to him that this very girl, a close friend of Kelly, she's her friend. I never would have guessed that, because I always thought that people like Kelly had unusual friends. She's just a simple girl, and she's cute too. They've been together since college. I'm having some problems in my family. So Kelly hustled up, told her father to bring her here. Well, it's up to them, but be careful with her. And there's no guarantee she won't rat you out to her bosses. You know what I mean. She's on the outs with them. But Stephen had other plans, and he decided to put those plans into action. "Hi, my name's Stephen. I see you're new here. So if you have any problems, I'd love to help you out." "You would? It seems like nobody cares about anybody here. And they look at me like I'm an enemy of the people. To be honest with you, he doesn't really like people who come in through favors. We were told you were the prodigy of our boss's daughter. That's why you're being treated like this right away. If you're nice to everyone, you won't see it go away anytime soon." "Okay. Thank you so much for explaining. Although Kelly did warn me that I would be treated this way at first. She's very smart. And when she says something, she's always right." "How long have you two been friends?" "We met in college and have been inseparable ever since. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. She was so confused, and no wonder. People really looked down on her, like they'd never seen a person in a wheelchair before in their life. I didn't know who she was then, and I just felt sorry for her. Well, how do you walk?" I drove her around. She was happy to accept my help. She's a lovely person. She doesn't look like the daughter of rich parents, and that's what I liked about her right away. She has a humanity that a lot of healthy people don't have. I read somewhere that disabled people are evil because they don't look like normal people, but Kelly proved otherwise. I've never met anyone so bright. Okay, I'm probably just repeating myself. It's just that I really do love her a lot. Now I have to get to work. If there's a problem, I know I can come to you, Stephen." Stephen nodded, went to his workstation. He was interested in their conversation. He was learning a lot about Kelly again. Although the fact that she was a kind and smart girl, he had heard many times before. When lunch came, Stephen stopped by Christina's to invite her in and in between to show her the dining room that was in the building. And it was made especially for the employees. The food there is excellent. I've never had food like this in a restaurant. "Come on, I'll show you where it is." "I'm sorry, Stephen, but I'm going up to Kelly's. She's so busy working sometimes, she forgets to eat, which, unfortunately, is not normal. So I'll try to get her to eat. If I do, I'll meet you in the cafeteria." Stephen left, and Christina folded neatly all the papers in order on the desk and went to Kelly. Her office was next to her father's. And in fact, the regular employees did not go up there unnecessarily. She knocked on the door and heard Kelly's voice. "Kelly, hi. It's me. Let's go win. I'm starving. Besides, I've been told about your canteen so much that if we don't go, I'll starve to death. It's in your office." "No, you don't want to do that." "Of course we're going. I just haven't been going alone. I'd love to go with you, my friend. Tell me about your new place. No one's hurting you. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. Besides, you know I'll never let anyone hurt me. I can always stand up for myself. I met this guy. Well, actually, he came up to me, offered to help me, said that if I do not understand something, I can safely turn to him. He's very handsome, by the way. Let me show him to you. I'm glad you're doing well. And I'd be really happy if you could make something work with this guy." "Not a chance. Guys like them will never look at me. He'd rather look at you. Don't be silly. I've told you 100 times. You're a very pretty girl, so stop underestimating yourself." Stephen saw them as soon as they entered the dining room. Christina gestured Kelly over to the table in a familiar gesture. In doing so, she pushed back a chair to make her friend comfortable. The dining room became very quiet. Everyone looked only at Kelly. She, on the other hand, paid no attention to anyone. Stephen was also looking at her for the first time, and to give him credit, he liked her in person. She was really a very beautiful girl. Against her background, Christina looked like a pale moth. The friends were talking quietly about something, not paying attention to anyone. The waiter immediately ran up to him and immediately took the order. Christina was quietly telling Kelly something, and then she turned and looked at him with her big blue eyes. He realized that Christina must have been telling her about him at the moment. He smiled quietly and nodded. Kelly nodded back at him and looked away. Christina smiled and listened to what Kelly told her, then turned to Stephen and made an inviting gesture. Stephen didn't refuse. Every opportunity to get close to Kelly was important to him now. He grabbed his tray with his order and walked over to them. "Hello, Kelly Robert. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Stephen, but I think Christina already told you that. You can just go ahead." "Kelly is a pleasure, Stephen, and I'm glad you didn't leave my friend alone. I know how newcomers are treated here, so thank you again for your support. Also, you didn't know who Christina was or who I was. That tells me you're a kind, sensitive person." Stephen didn't bother to tell Kelly that as soon as Christina walked into the office, he had already been told all about her. Why dissuade him? Besides, Kelly's praise was very nice to him. "It's nothing. I didn't do anything wrong. Besides, Alice is a girl of character, and as it seemed to me, she doesn't need help or protection." The dinner passed in a friendly atmosphere. They talked quietly. And then when they finished, they agreed that now only 3 people would have lunch. When they got home, Stephen joyfully approached his mother and told her that he had met Kelly today. "How? Really? How did that happen? We had a new girl over. Turns out it was a friend of hers, and she introduced Kelly to me in the cafeteria today. Well, more like she introduced me to her. Whatever, Mom. Now she recognized me. And I recognized her. I don't think there's any rush. But I'm gonna take it slow." "Wrong, son. Just take your time. All in good time. Remember, you're gonna make it. You better tell me how arrogant she is." "Come on, Mom. She's a normal girl. It's, pretty cute. Not my type, of course. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. She's not a freak, and I think I can go after her now. There are some complications, though. She doesn't trust anyone, I think, because she realizes that she's handicapped and what a normal guy doesn't need. It's my job to prove to her that none of this is true, that it's just her speculation. I'm right. You're right, son. You're always right. Look at the situation. And most importantly, remember that you got to keep your eyes on her, thinking only of her, no other girls. I hope you didn't compliment that friend of hers, because I know you. She'll tell her Kelly, and then it's all gone. Don't worry, Mom, I did the right thing. I went over there just to help her. We had a conversation. Nothing too much. All I had with her was work. Besides, I didn't like her. She's kind of pale and not really my type either. So you don't have to worry too much about it. Good, son. I'm glad you're a smart kid. I hope the ice is finally breaking. In a little while, you'll be the most powerful man in the world. In fact, who do you want to be? But the key is patience. Stephen agreed with his mother. He would have to be very careful not to scare her off. But he knew he would succeed. It was not without reason that he had come to this for so long. Kelly was in her room. She had gone to bed early tonight because she was feeling a little under the weather. Not good with her for the first time. Her heart was cramping, and blood was spurting whether the hearth was the same or not. And it even seemed like she had a fever at first, but she knew her body well and saw that she didn't have a fever. What was happening to her? She didn't understand. This had never happened to her before, and it frightened her. The image of Stephen kept running through her mind. No matter what she did, he was always in her face. Had she fallen in love? No, it couldn't be. Not with her. They'd been talking for 2 months. Always the three of them. He, she, and Christina. True, in the evenings he wrote to her. They talked about different topics, and she realized that she was very interested in him, and as it seemed to her, he was interested in her. And yesterday he invited her to the park. She had been there a long time ago, as a child, when my father took me there. But she didn't like it there, because there were children looking at her, and she looked at them and envied the way they ran. Her father offered to take her for a ride too, but she refused. She didn't want everyone looking at her, and Stephen had offered to let her go. She didn't expect him to do that. Are you serious right now? Kelly, it sounds like I'm kidding. You're what? But you realize that I am. Kelly was going to say handicapped, but Stephen interrupted her. Oh, come on. This is the most beautiful girl in the world to me. You're beautiful, you're sweet, you're kind, you're very smart, and I really enjoy talking to you. So why can't I ask you out? And Kelly said yes. Her malaise must have been exacerbated by the fact that she was anxiously awaiting the results. Her father, as usual, never let anyone near his daughter. And if there were people near her, he would make inquiries about them. Kelly never said anything about the games, and if he did ask, she simply replied that they socialize as colleagues. She then told him that Christina had introduced them, and then when she was asked out and had to tell her father, because she couldn't just leave the house without him knowing. She remembers that then as a teenager she asked her father what was the purpose of this insurance. You see, daughter, I'm really worried about you, and I think you know that enough to understand what I'm doing. No, it's not enough for me. Remember when you once told me that we should always tell each other the truth? Well, now I see that you're lying to me. And then my father told me that the accident when her mom died and she became an invalid was faked. But he couldn't prove anything at the time. But after that, he guarded his daughter like the apple of his eye. So she had to tell her father about the date. He was surprised. He didn't say anything, just nodded. And she realized that Stephen would be scrutinizing. She resented that, of course. But on the other hand, she understood who they were, and she'd seen how people sometimes went crazy over money. She thought her father wouldn't come home this time, but she was glad when she heard the sound of a car pulling up. Soon he knocked on the door of her room. You're awake. I'm glad you waited for me, but don't keep me waiting. Can you please tell me what you found out about Stephen? Well, I didn't find out much. He has no father. His mother brought him up. He's never had a criminal record and has never been involved in anything bad. In general, a positive character, which, frankly, scares me a lot. But I guess the mom did her best. She didn't want her son to get involved in different stories. Actually, she did well, did the right thing. Studying at the institute, met with a girl, but then they broke up. As it turned out, he could not tolerate the fact that she cheated on him. But according to the girl, this never happened, and apparently she was slandered. At the moment works in my company, does not meet with anyone. Anyway, I've told you all about him in a nutshell. Enough. Kelly shrugged. What did she have to do with it? She be happy and don't know all that information about him. What do you think about all this, Dad? I'm allowed to go out with him. Do you want to? Kelly's daughter nodded and blushed. But I don't mind. He seems like a smart guy. He's good at his job. I think he might even get a promotion. He's young, but he's got a good head for the job. So you're not going alone. You'll have a guard with you. Got it. Who else is going? Christina and Stephen's friend. I think his name is John. I've got some information on his friend, but I don't think you're interested. By the way, he's been in a couple of bad situations, but it's no big deal. He seems like a regular guy to me, and I respect that kind of guy. I was like that myself when I was younger. But what about Stephen? I'm a little concerned, of course, but I don't mind having fun. Have a good weekend. Stephen looked at his watch and worried. They'd had a long talk with his mother today. He had told her that he had asked Kelly out on a date, but it was too soon to be happy. Of course, he needed Kelly's father's consent, so he waited with bated breath. As time went on, Kelly didn't call or write. He already thought that most likely her father found out something and forbade her to communicate with him. What should he do then? What to do? Had he lost everything? Maybe he's in a big hurry. Maybe he started this whole thing too soon. He probably should have waited a couple more months. He decided not to wait. So in his opinion, enough time had passed. What if this was the end of it? He chased all those bad thoughts out of his head as best he could, but they persisted. Suddenly, his phone beeped, and he realized it was a heart-stopping text message. He opened his phone and breathed a sigh of relief. Kelly, sorry it's late, but it's still on for tomorrow. He and Christina will drive themselves to the park. It was a victory. He rushed out of the room and ran to his mother. "What, son?" asked his mother anxiously, obviously having heard him rushing to her. "Mom, we did it. You'll see a little more, and we'll have a wedding. Now I'm sure of everything. I'm so glad, my darling. You'll do so well tomorrow. Please be most considerate and gallant. A first date always makes a lasting impression on a girl. Do you understand me? I'll do everything right. You know me." At 12 o'clock, John arrived at Stephen's house by car. His friend on the phone last night asked him to go out with him. What does that have to do with me? Or can't you take a girl out on a date by yourself? Don't be ridiculous. She's not going out alone. She's going out with her friend. So please support me. Has our Stephen really fallen in love in his life? I haven't heard you talk me into it like that, have you? Well, tell me more about it. Who she is, she's so beautiful. John, you wouldn't understand me. And I'm not gonna say anything. Just tell me if you'll support me or not. But of course, when we don't support you, well, but for keeping quiet all this time. I resent you. I mean, you and I used to share everything. And then you got a girlfriend, and I still don't know anything. I didn't realize what happened to me at first, but that's beside the point. Listen, John, please, when you see her, please don't make any jokes. You got me. You're scaring me. Is there something wrong with her? You'll see tomorrow. Now, good night. See you tomorrow. And so they drove together in the car and didn't say a word. John saw that Stephen was thinking about something, but he didn't want to ask his friend anything. He must be really serious, because he had never seen him like this before. They pulled up to the park. John and Stephen got out of the car. There they are by that black car. I don't get it. Is she with security or something? Yeah, because I asked out the daughter of the man I work for. Robert, right? John, please don't make that face. It's not necessary right now. Besides, everybody's looking at us. She's gonna have a friend with her. So your job is to make her like you. Do you understand me? Because she's probably gonna have to go on dates with her first. They came over, and they said hello. John immediately noticed the beautiful girl in the wheelchair. She reminded him of a flower, just as beautiful, unwelcoming. Standing next to her was apparently her friend. They introduced themselves to each other and walked to the park. Christina did not like her. He didn't like girls like that at all. He couldn't stand blondes. Kelly, on the other hand, was probably his type of brunette with beautiful blue eyes. It was so beautiful that when she looked at him, he was speechless because he couldn't take his eyes off her. "You girls are so quiet. It's not like we're in the park. It's like we're in some horrible place," said John cheerfully to lighten the mood. "It's just been so long since I've been in a public place that I don't even know how to act," Kelly said. "It's weird. Maybe I'm going to ask a stupid question, but I want to hear you say why you're a normal girl. You don't have anything that would turn people away from you. Or is there another reason?" Stephen pushed his friend to the side, showing him that he was prying into his own body. But Kelly still answered John, "Is it for you? I'm a normal person, but to a lot of people around me I'm not. They try to get around me and the other way around. It always feels like I'm a leper. This I met very often on my way and realized that it is better for me not to see it, so I tried not to go anywhere. Well, that's enough sadness. Let's have some fun. That's kind of what we came here for. Kelly, you've been on the Ferris wheel. You want a bird's eye view of the city. I haven't. How are we gonna do that? You're about to see it. John, go get your tickets. We're gonna show Kelly around." Kelly never had such a good time as the day they rode the Ferris wheel. Then Stephen took her on the carousel. She didn't agree to go on the other rides herself because she honestly admitted that she was scared because she had health problems. Then it was John's turn to ride with Christina. And Kelly and Stephen watched from the sidelines and ate ice cream. Kelly also remembered all the times Stephen would take her in his arms to put her on the merry-go-round or in the cab of the Ferris wheel. She couldn't explain how she felt at that moment. It felt really good. Kelly and Christina rode in the security car. John took Stephen home. "So how did you like Christina? Did you like the girl? But you know very well she's not my type. But I liked today. The girls are very interesting, especially Kelly. I thought there was no one like her in the world anymore. That's with the brakes. She's my girlfriend. You get it, you get it. I'm not gonna beat her off just by reasoning with her. Although, believe me, if I'd met her sooner, you wouldn't have a chance." "What makes you say that?" "I can tell she likes me." John didn't say anything. As he dropped Stephen off outside the house and drove to his house, his thoughts returned again to Kelly. He really liked this girl, but he could see that she only had eyes for Stephen. He didn't mind, and he was even happy for his friend. Just didn't like the whole thing. Be that as it may, and Stephen he had known for quite some time, and realized that he would never marry someone like Kelly. Besides, he would never even socialize with such people. And here he was, right here, he wouldn't leave her side. And that was very alarming. Stephen realized he couldn't wait any longer. He'd been seeing Kelly for 3 months now, and he was getting bored with it. He needed more of what he'd been going for all along. And his mom was getting impatient, saying it was probably time to propose, or someone else would show up. And then they'd steal her away from Stephen. And he didn't want that. So he decided it was time to take drastic measures. So he invited her to a restaurant. After that meeting in the park, Stephen was reassigned. He started earning more money and was finally able to buy a car. Now he drove Kelly everywhere by himself, and they didn't take John or Christina with them. So he called Kelly today and told her that he had a serious conversation with her and that he was taking her to a restaurant. "I don't like those phrases. It's scary," Kelly replied quietly as she listened to Stephen. "Don't be scared. It's okay. I just missed you. That's why I said that. Don't worry. I beg you." "Well, okay then. Tonight I'll what?" "Before the date, my mother and I went to the jewelry store to buy a ring for Kelly. They argued for a long time, but then they decided. And finally, the ring was in his pocket in a velvet box. Son, don't forget that even if she agrees, we have to ask for her father's hand in marriage. Because you know he's a serious man. So we need to impress him. If you can do that, you can imagine how you will fly. He will immediately move you to a higher place, because it is not proper for the husband of the daughter to engage in inappropriate activities. As far as I know, Kelly herself is head of analytics. Smart girl, my ass. Who'd have thought it? She's really smart, if only she wasn't a cripple. Doesn't make any difference to me, though. I don't like her. She's not my type, you know. I prefer blondes, not like her. Just my son. The main thing is that she doesn't realize you don't like her. If she does, it's all over. You know what I mean. I understand perfectly. Don't worry, I won't let you down. There's a reason I've been through so much, and I know there's no turning back. Christina was in Kelly's room and watched with burning eyes as her friend tried on her wedding dress. Wow, that's gorgeous. You look beautiful in it. Who's the groom's date for the wedding? John. John, of course. And you're on my side. How are things going with him, by the way? It's not. He's made it very clear that I'm not his type. I really liked him a lot, though. I think I'm gonna give it another shot at your wedding. Maybe I'll get lucky. What do you think? Christina, but there's a lot of focus on him. I mean, there's plenty of other guys out there. Well, he doesn't like you, that's fine. But he's not the only one. You know, it seems like everything, it seems like it's not. But sometimes, you're attracted to him. He's a really nice guy. When I'm with him, for some reason I always feel protected. I guess a girl needs that. It's just a shame our feelings aren't mutual. It makes me very sad. By the way, I've always wanted to ask you, where will you live after the wedding in this house? Dad said it's my house, and that's where I should stay. I actually agree with him. I'm very happy here. Stephen doesn't mind. He agrees. He said they like it very much too. Yeah, it's really nice here. Are you going on a honeymoon after the wedding? Of course, my father's arranged something for us, but I don't know. I was told it was a surprise. Stephen seems to know, but he won't say anything. And I don't insist. It's better to be a surprise. Christina, I still think I'm dreaming. I always thought I'd never get married. I don't think I'd ever be noticed by any guy. And then there's Stephen, and he's so handsome. Come on, you're very handsome too. I mean, look at you. You're just stunning. Stephen saw that and fell in love. That's right. I really want you to be happy. Kelly looked at her friend, thinking that they would be happy with Stephen, and thought that nothing could interfere with their happiness. Stephen arrived home and went straight into the kitchen. He looked at his mother glumly but said nothing. Son, I see you've got something going on. You won't tell me. I'm fed up. I can't stand it. To tell you the truth, I can't look at my wife. I'm so sick of her, but I can't stand it. And she's so right, so smart, she makes me sick. And I can't do anything. Unless it's with her, I'll lose everything. And I didn't work so hard to lose everything. What am I gonna do? Help me. Don't even think about divorce. Besides, Kelly's a beautiful girl. I don't understand what else you need. You have everything. You don't need anything. What do you need, son? I like another girl. I'm getting serious with her. You see, I love her. You see, I'm young. I'm handsome. Shouldn't I be happy? Why should I have to live with an invalid and suffer like this? Is that what you raised me for? You see, son, don't you feel bad? You're the richest man in the world now. You can afford anything you want, and because of your love, you'll lose everything. Do you understand? Just understand. Money doesn't come easy to anyone, and you just married a millionaire's daughter and still managed to complain. I see you've stopped thinking. Everything was fine, but you've gone off the rails. If your father-in-law finds out you're having an affair, he'll never forgive you. You know what I mean? And even here, I can't help you. I understand all that. So I came to you for advice. What do I do? What do I do? Miranda got up from the table and went to the window. She was silent for a long time, apparently thinking about something. Stephen looked at his mother and waited to see what she would finally say to him. I understand, and I share your feelings. To be honest, I haven't been lucky enough to be happy in my life. I don't want you to repeat my fate, but what I'm about to offer you is very serious. And think about whether you're capable of doing it for your own happiness. Mom, you know me. I'm always willing to go the extra mile if it's really worth it. All right. Chuckles, are you willing to wait a year to be a really happy person? A year? Why not a year? Why don't you tell me if you're willing to wait a year? I think so. If it makes me happy. Then listen carefully. It's been a long time since you and Kelly went on vacation. Besides, she's used to your luxurious life, so you suggest she go somewhere in the woods, in the country, where there's no civilization. For example, to live in a tent, to fish in the river. There's not much to do in nature. I think she'd like that. Besides, as far as I understand, with you she feels protected, so she'll go along with anything. So when you get there, you should take a good look around the area. See if there are people around, so that there are no witnesses. And then just throw her off a cliff or into the river, presenting it as an accident. Do you understand me? And the most important thing is that I don't say anything about this vacation right away. Just give her the idea that she would like to go to the nature, so that no one would guess anything. Stephen's silence. He was thinking of making an accident for his wife, but he didn't know how. But his mother had explained it all so well that he knew he would do it. All he had to do was talk Kelly into it, because he knew she wasn't a nature lover. Stephen met up with John just before he left for vacation. They sat down in a cafe to talk for a while. But how are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm fine. I just thought since you're a family man, you shouldn't be distracted. Oh, come on. I'm tired of being a family man. I'm exhausted. Oh, well, you wouldn't understand me anyway. You're a single man. Explain it to me. I just thought you liked Kelly, and now something's wrong. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying that. Listen, my wife and I are going on a camping trip. I want to teach her how to fish, how to live in a tent, and show her how good it is out there. We'll have a vacation together, and things will get better. I always thought you hated the outdoors. Besides, why go there with Kelly? You know, she's a little different from us. It would be hard on her. Only it's not my idea. It's hers, so you have to do it. You know, she's used to getting everything she wants. Now I'm her husband, and I do all her whims. John frowned, because he knew that Kelly was nothing like Stephen was describing her now, although he just maybe didn't know her enough. Or maybe she acts so incomprehensible to him, although he had talked to Christina back then, when they were still on a date together. She was telling him about Kelly, and he'd heard nothing but good things about her. How kind, smart, fair. That's when he drew his conclusions about her. And he watched Kelly himself, and came to the same opinion that she's a wonderful person. And then he hears from Stephen not at all flattering comments, and what to think now he didn't know. Although, looking at his friend, he saw that he became some kind of wooden, angry. Everything irritated him, and he didn't like it at all. When you're going, I'll see you again. Yeah, if only at the end of the week. Because we're all set for next Monday. Let's move. John was fine with that. He hated not understanding things. He saw that his friend was nervous for some reason, and he didn't like it at all. And for some reason he felt uneasy, and he knew that this uneasiness had something to do with Kel. Then he decided to follow Stephen a little. The father looked at his daughter anxiously and did not share her optimism. You don't know what you're talking about. You nature two things are incompatible. I'm worried about you. Besides, we decided to go alone. What the hell is that? Dad, I didn't get it at first either, but as it turns out, it's not far from here. So don't worry about it. And it's connected. You're talking to me like I'm going to the jungle, but that's not where I'm going. Oh, I see. Why do you want to go to the wilderness? I don't know. I saw a movie with Stephen the other day. They were making soup, and he told me that he and his class used to go camping. And they made soup just like that, and that he would never forget the taste. So I wanted to. You know, I've never tasted anything like it. He went to his daughter and hugged her. It was true, his girl had not seen a lot of things in her life, and how happy he was for her now, seeing that she was living a full life. And he, in turn, would do anything for her just to make his daughter happy. John was already on his second day of driving around town for Stephen. He took a special day off. I don't know why he'd do that, but for some reason he had an uneasy feeling that Stephen was up to no good. By the end of the second day, he decided that he would not follow his friend anymore because he was only traveling for work. But by the evening, he saw what he probably expected to see. It shook him up pretty badly. He was glad that on Saturday they would meet again, and then he would ask him what he wanted after all. And if it was true, he'd better get it all out of his head before it was too late. Kelly happily gathered herself for this dreamy walk. Christina looked at her friend anxiously. I don't know why they had to go into the woods. I mean, really, Kelly, what's gotten into you? I'm sorry to say these things, but this isn't the city. It's hard for a man with legs, aren't you? I'm sorry again, but I'm really trying to understand you. It's no big deal. We'll take a romantic camping trip. Have you ever heard? I've never been outdoors, and I really want to. Plus, you're like my dad. What are you so worried about? You'd think I'd be leaving home hundreds of miles away. And this is right next door. Stephen showed me on the map that it's close to here. You can check it out for yourself. Yes? And then there's cell service. So call me every day and I'll let you know how I'm doing. I know it's hard for Stephen to listen to me talk sometimes. So I'm gonna tell my impressions to myself. And Christina frowned. It seemed to her that when Kelly talked about Stephen, she became sad. She wanted to ask her friend if everything was normal in her family life. But she didn't, because she knew that if Kelly wanted to tell her something, she would have done it. John never got to meet Stephen. He said he had a lot of things to do and couldn't get out for meetings. And on Monday morning, he left with Kelly for the woods, and for some reason John didn't like this idea, though he couldn't understand it himself. Why? Kelly excitedly looked around at the birds that were hovering around her. There was some rustling, and she turned her head with delight, looking at them with interest. Stephen assembled the tent with a smile, watching his wife. Stephen, what's that strange knocking? It's that uncle. There are many of them. They are the sanitarians of the forest. If it weren't for them, many trees would be dead by now. What's that cracking noise? Is it so strange? It doesn't sound like a rhinoceros. It's a grouse. There's a lot of them here too. It's a protected area, and all birds and animals are protected. And there are bears here. There are, but they don't come here. We're not in the middle of a protected area after all. I know we can't take any risks, but this is perfect. So don't worry. There won't be any animals attacking. When night fell, Kelly couldn't sleep for a long time. She tried to lie down, but she realized that wasn't the point. She was constantly distracted by some rustling, some fussing. She was a little scared. But then she looked at Stephen, who had been asleep for a long time, and calmed down. If her husband was calm, then she needn't worry at all. And toward morning, when she finally fell asleep, she had a strange dream. Her husband was pushing her into the abyss and smiling at her. She couldn't believe what was happening. Then, as she began to fall, she woke up screaming. Stephen looked into the tent and smiled. Finally, I thought I had you sleeping all day. You know how people are like that when they get to the countryside. They want to sleep. My mom used to tell me she had a friend like that. It was impossible to go out with her. She'd lie down and sleep. That's what the fresh air did to her. How are you feeling? I'm fine. You look a little pale. I just had a bad dream. You know, I was really scared. It's just the new place has got to you. All the excitement, the noise. You're not rested. I had a stupid dream too. Kelly washed his face in a very unpleasant way. I seem to remember the whole dream, and it felt like it was real. She saw it so clearly. It was very unpleasant. I made some coffee and we went fishing. I found a beautiful spot. You'll love watching me fish. They had breakfast. And then Stephen took the fishing rods and rolled the baby carriage. Kelly to the river. She could hear her because there was a noise coming from there. Apparently the river was fast. But Kelly couldn't see it from behind the trees. Besides, she couldn't swim, and she didn't like water at all. She had always had a fear of water. Soon the trees parted, and she saw the river, not very wide but still fast. They found themselves on a platform that ended in a cliff. She was frightened and looked at Stephen. "So you're afraid your baby carriage will roll? Don't worry. I've got it all figured out. I'll put it where you can see me fishing and not get hurt." Kelly smiled and felt a little calmer. She began to admire nature again and look around. Suddenly, she thought she saw someone hiding in the distance. She could have sworn that she could even feel the eyes on her. But then she thought that it was probably her imagination playing tricks on her after the night. And then carefully, looking again at the spot, she saw nothing else. Stephen cast the rod, and she began to watch with interest. Soon he caught the first fish. She didn't know what the fish was called, but she didn't care. She watched it with delight as her husband placed it near the stroller. Then he cast the rod again and caught a small fish again. She was having fun. Kelly was oblivious to everything. Watching the fishing for the third time, she caught a big fish, and she saw that her husband was having a hard time pulling it out. "Mash, I need a net. I can't get it out this way. Help me. What should I do?" "Just take the net. It's not far from you, and give it to me. Don't be afraid of anything. There's no tablecloth down there. I'm watching you." Kelly quickly picked up the net and wheeled the wheelchair over to her husband to hand it to him. But then she saw Stephen put down the rod and turn toward her. It was as if time had slowed down for her. She didn't realize what he was doing, and he just took her by the stroller, pulled her up to him, and looked into the classrooms. "But what is it, sweetheart? It's time for you and me to say goodbye. If you only knew how bored I am with you. I want to live my life. You know, love who I want. I never even liked you. I married you for your money. Well, now it's goodbye. It's over. I'm finally rid of you." Kelly looked at Stephen in horror, remembering her dream. But how? How is this possible? He was her husband, her favorite person, the one she was happy with. And he was unhappy with her. So he was faking it. But what does it matter? What is she thinking? She's going to die anyway. She can't save herself in water like this. She can't swim. Besides, half her body doesn't work, and she can't do anything. And that's when Stephen pushed her down. The last thing she saw was him smiling. Robert couldn't find a place to go. Rescuers had been working for the third day, but Kelly's body had not yet been found. "Believe me, we'll do what we can, but it's possible she was carried away much faster than we think, and we need to widen the search. Anything could have happened. Maybe she got sucked into some kind of whirlpool. Or is she lying on the bottom right now? Get the right divers. Get the right divers. Get whoever you want. My daughter. Find her. I'll pay you. Only, please, my children, her." He looked at his son-in-law, who walked with a pale face. He felt sorry for him. After all, the first thing he had done was to attack him without realizing what he was doing. But Stephen stoically endured everything, realizing what a grief it was. Besides, he himself rushed after her, only he could not understand where she had gone. They found the baby carriage not far from where they were fishing. But Kelly's body was gone. John drove over to Christina's house to talk to her. She happily came out to him. "I really don't know what it's about. Hi, Christina. Long time no see. How are you doing? Everything okay? John, what brings you here? I need to talk to you. Listen, you were at Kelly's the other night. Before they went on that camping trip, right? Yeah, and you didn't notice anything weird? I mean, maybe Kelly was scared or sad." "No, everything was fine. She was happy and so excited to go on a nature trip. And then this happened. I still can't believe it. I feel sorry for Robert. He's been so down since his daughter died. He's not like himself." "Why do you ask? It just came to me. I'm still in shock myself. You're right. But wait, I did think Kelly was hiding something from me. And it's about Stephen. I don't know why, but I felt like I didn't have to ask her anything because I knew my friend so well. If she doesn't want to talk, there's no way she'll say anything. I thought I'd talk to her after the trip. And you see how it turned out. John nodded. In fact, that was all he wanted to hear. He got into the car as he saw that he had a missed call on his phone. Looking at the screen, he saw that Stephen was calling him. It had been a long time since they had talked. He didn't insist, realizing that he didn't really care about him right now. Stephen, hi. You called me, but where have you been? Friend, I've been waiting for you to call. But you've completely forgotten about me. I just didn't think you cared about me. You can't stop grieving, though. But what's happened is that I'm going to die of sadness. We're all mortal. Today we are someone else tomorrow, vice versa. So you have to live and enjoy every day. Listen, let's go to a restaurant tonight. I'm sick of everything. I want to relax a little. Okay, let's do it. What time? Let's make it 6 o'clock. I don't have anything to do. I'm afraid I won't have time. I could go out of town for work. Let's make it 8. I think I'll be done by then. John wondered why Stephen suddenly wanted to go to a restaurant. If it were him, he'd probably be pining for Kelly. And nothing in his life would make him happy anymore. Stephen's doing fine. He moved on. He didn't care about anything else. He was free. He didn't get home until 8 o'clock, as he'd hoped. He barely made it home in time to shower and change. At exactly 8 o'clock, he pulled up to the restaurant Stephen had told him. Someone was sitting at a table drinking cognac. I was afraid you weren't coming. I called your phone again, but it was unavailable. I told you I went to the country, and there's no reception there. It was just a work thing. We're building a small factory there, so I have to go there all the time to check what's going on. Realizing you don't have a good job, I'll get you a job at our company. My father-in-law will do everything for me. All I have to say is you'll make a lot of money. Besides, I'm gonna get it all soon. Kelly, my girlfriend's smart. She even left a will. And I'm the full owner of her stock, her share of the company. So I'm a rich man, and I put in a good word for you. Besides, I need my own people in the company. I'm tired of dealing with my father-in-law's men. It's time for me to get my own people. Not yet. I've got 6 more months to go, but I think I can do it. But what about you? Are you in? I'll think about my offer, but I'll give you an answer later, because I can't let down my boss, with whom we have a contract. When the construction is finished, we'll talk then. I think it'll be finished in 6 months. By then, I hope you haven't changed your mind about taking me in. I haven't changed my mind. You're my friend. If you knew, John, how sometimes I wish I could talk frankly, only I can't. And I have a lot to say. John could see that Stephen was a little drunk and decided to push him a little on the subject he was so interested in. Namely, what had happened on the cliff. He didn't believe it was an accident. You know me. You can trust me with anything. I'll always listen to you. I'll even give you advice if you need it. You see, I'm in love, and it's so hard not being together. I think about her all the time. I can't sleep. I can't eat without her. Can you tell me what to do? John frowned. He hadn't expected that from Stephen. I understand, Stephen, but you said yourself that you have to move on. Kelly's not coming back, and that's why. What's Kelly got to do with it? I never loved her. I only wanted her so I could live like this now, so I could be rich and not think about tomorrow. I'm talking about Sophia, As soon as I saw her, I fell in love with her. But my father-in-law's always on the lookout, so I've been seeing her on the sly and in secret. Now she wants me to marry her, and I have to keep mourning for another 6 months, but I'm afraid that doesn't suit her. And if she doesn't wait for me, what am I supposed to do? Then she's not your woman, and she doesn't love you. Cold, John replied. He felt uncomfortable sitting at the same table with a man like Stephen. He couldn't even understand when this had happened to him. He used to be a normal guy. And now what had he become? Stephen didn't seem to notice how John had changed. He kept ranting. And that father-in-law is always hanging around me. I'm sick of him, but I don't give a damn. I couldn't take care of my little girl. That's not my problem. You shouldn't have let us go to the country then. I'm sick of them all. You should know how much I hate them all. John didn't want to hear any more. He was disgusted. He got up and said that he had an urgent matter to solve. She opened the classrooms, not realizing where the body was. Everything hurt terribly. It felt like she had been ground through a meat grinder. She wanted to lift her head, but she couldn't. She closed her eyes again and fell into sleep. When she woke up again, she realized she was alone again. There was no one around, but she felt a little better herself, and she felt a soft warmth. She turned her head to see where she was. The house was clean. Pickett wasn't very cozy. The sun played bunnies on the floor and on the windowsill. White curtains fluttered in the wind, and the smell of wormwood wafted to her. She closed her eyes again. Could she be in heaven? When she's ready to stay here forever. She closed her eyes again when suddenly she heard footsteps on the porch. Someone was coming, and she didn't want to show that she'd come to her senses at first. To see for herself if she should trust this person or not. What if it was her husband? The memory of him made her chest ache again. She didn't understand how he could do that to her. It turned out to be very simple. He didn't love her. That's all. Someone was walking in the room. Then he came to her bed and leaned over. She couldn't stand it, opened her eyes and cried out. It was John. Kelly, just don't be afraid of me. I didn't hurt you. Kelly nodded. Tears rolled from her eyes. She didn't remember well what had happened to her then after the fall. She remembered well the cold blows and then being carried somewhere. Then she felt someone grab her. She saw it was John and lost consciousness. Then when she came to, she thought she'd dreamed it all up. But it turned out he had saved her. Then what should she do? He's a close friend of her husband's, so she doesn't have long to live. Soon he'll show up and finish the job, and she won't be able to do anything. She's helpless on this bed, plus her whole body still hurts so far, so she can't even move. John looked at her and gently wiped the tears from her cheeks. She closed her eyes again, but out of fear. Don't be afraid of me. Mash, I'm sorry it happened like that. I was late. Until the last, I didn't think Stephen was capable of such a thing. But to be honest, I felt something and followed you. Kelly opened her eyes and looked at John, so she wasn't imagining it. And she really felt followed. So it was you who was watching us on the fishing trip. Yeah, that was me. I'm sorry I was almost late, but it's okay. I managed to save you. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do next. I mean, he wanted to kill you. And I still can't believe it. How long have I been here? Almost 3 weeks is a long time to recover. My grandmother lives here, and she's been treating you. We were really scared for you, and I told her that if things continued to get this bad, I would take you into town and tell your father. If you want, I can take you now. Dad's there. I don't want to go anywhere yet. I need to think about it. I know it's wrong, but I need to get my head together. Kelly has been living with her grandmother Vera for 6 months now, helping her with herbs, learning how to brew them properly. She was waiting now too. Grandmother was looking out the window. It was raining outside today. It had been raining since morning, and it was unclear whether it would go on all day or end soon. Then she remembered the meeting with her father and smiled. It had been a week since that conversation with John. She didn't want to see anyone was so depressed she didn't want to live herself. Then she thought about her father and realized that it wasn't his fault, that he had always tried to do everything for her. She was just mocking him now. When John came again to see how she was doing, she told him to bring her father to her. But what better way to do it? From what I understand, you wouldn't want Stephen to find out. It's too soon for him to know I'm back from the dead. But you should tell your father. I don't want him jeopardizing his health for me. Then do this. I'll tell him how to get an appointment. As I recall, he was interested in some land he wanted to buy. You'll have to offer him a place. Tell him it's right for him. I'll give you the details in a moment. Adding that you don't need intermediaries, that he's the one who should see the place. He'll understand and go with you. Besides, he already knows you a little bit, and I think he won't resist. Just make sure he doesn't recognize Stephen. Okay, Kelly, I'll do as you say. And John, when you get to the place, I want you to prepare him a little bit, because I'm really worried about him, because I don't want him to get hurt. She'll never forget the look on his face when he saw her. The two of them cried and talked for a long time then. John and Grandma waited for them outside. And when they'd had enough, they sat down to tea together. I don't understand how you can wait so long. We have to catch him now and put him in jail. He wanted to kill you. I'm sorry, Dad, but that would be easy for him. And I want revenge. I'm not an evil man, but I can't forgive this. And you know very well how I felt about him. And he knew it. If he had told me the truth, that he wanted a divorce, that he just wanted more money, I would have given him everything. I wouldn't have been sorry. That's why I want to prepare a little bit too, like he's been preparing all this time. John, thank you so much for your daughter. If it wasn't for you, I don't know what would have happened to my little girl. How can I ever thank you? Why don't you join my company? That's the kind of guy I need out there. I'd love to work for you, Robert. I'm afraid I can't yet. Stephen will get the wrong idea. He'll start asking questions, and he might get suspicious. Let's talk about it after this is over. You're right. We'll talk about it after. Now we're going. Come on, daughter. Get ready. Dad, I'm gonna stay here. It's better for everyone. Stephen doesn't live in our house now, but he can come anytime. Besides, I'll be seen by Aunt Clara, your guards, and there's a lot of people there. Even though they're loyal to you, they can still negotiate. So I'll stay here. And you can come and see me anytime. Robert didn't argue. He could see that his daughter was doing very well here. Besides, her grandmother said she was still in treatment, and it would be better for Kelly to stay here. So she's been delayed. It's been over 6 months, a little longer, and soon everything will be back to normal. She'll go back to her father. She'll be back at the company, working and living like nothing ever happened. But it won't be like before. She'll constantly think about what Stephen did to her, but it didn't bother her as much as it used to. She started thinking about John a lot. I really liked that guy, especially his attitude toward her. She began to see the difference between John and Stephen, realized how wrong she'd been. She had mistaken flirting for love. John really loved her, and it showed. Stephen arrived home, and the first thing he did was go into the kitchen. Mom was sitting there reading a magazine. She looked at her son and smiled well. Son, there is not much left, and soon there will be everything you have dreamed of for so long. And what's so overcast? It seems to me that you should rejoice, because the victory is ours. So I am. I'm not happy though. You know, I feel like my father-in-law's been weird with me lately. The first time he was in mourning, I was doing all the work. And then all of a sudden, it's like he's gone. He won't let me do anything. And now he's giving the most important things not to me, but to his deputy. I thought I was his right-hand man. Now I don't know what's going on in the company. It's disturbing. It's really weird. What's he saying? You asked him about it, right? He doesn't say much. He barely talks to me. And the best part is he doesn't even mention his daughter. And he's having fun. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's probably a defensive reaction to what's going on. He realized that he lost his daughter, but naturally, it makes him feel very bad. Our body at such moments tries to put a protective block, and a person begins to live as if nothing had happened. It's okay. Just be patient. Soon half of the company will go to you, as he will have to reckon with you. The main thing is, son, you did it. You did the right thing. And I'm also here to see you about Sophia. I wanted to ask you how things are going over there. It's not good. I've got her so much money. I'm broke. I'm waiting for the inheritance to come to me, and I still don't know where we're putting it. You've got good taste, son. Well, it's up to you, of course, but be careful with her. It's not long before she's pantsless. John sadly realized that Kelly would be leaving his grandmother's tonight. That's right, it's time. Tomorrow, Stephen would go to the notary to sign the necessary papers and receive the inheritance. But that wasn't the point. It seemed to him that as soon as Kelly left for the city, a wall would grow between them. She wouldn't want to hang out with him anymore. After all, they were so good together. He saw it and felt it. Kiryusha, why are you so sad? Something happened. He looked at Kelly, wanted to say that no, but then remembered that they agreed to tell each other the truth. And it was only on the truth that they'd built this fragile relationship. I'm afraid of losing you. I feel like as soon as you cross the threshold and leave, you'll forget about me. John, what are you talking about? You saved my life. That's one thing. And second of all, I've gotten to know you over the past year. I know a certain kind of person, and believe me, I'm not gonna let you go that easily. I feel good with you. I really hope to continue our communication with you. Stephen drove to the notary's office. At the appointed time, he saw his father-in-law's car and grimaced. He thought that he had absolutely nothing to do here, but apparently he had to be present at the reading of the will. All right, let him be here if it wouldn't interfere with anything. He has endured the morning, and now he can go about his business and his life in peace. Robert was no one to him now. He was on his way to the building when he saw his friend John pull up. They hadn't spoken much lately. Stephen had called him, but he kept saying he was busy and couldn't meet him. Hi, what are you doing here? I had some business to check out. Why are you here? Well, it's my birthday. It's been a year, and I'm inheriting the estate that my untimely departed Janny left me. I propose to celebrate tonight at the restaurant. Are you coming to congratulate me? Probably not. It's a celebration without me. I think you'll find someone. Who to celebrate with? Hey, did you get a girlfriend? 'Cause you weren't like this before. You were always hanging out with me. And now you're like a stranger. You're right. I have a girlfriend. She and I are in love. And I really hope we get married soon. But you have to. You'll invite me to the wedding. You know, somehow, I don't think you'll have time for me. Besides, you're getting an inheritance, and that opens up a whole new set of prospects for you. So you won't have time for my wedding. Well, you mean, invite me. Maybe I can make time for you. John did not answer, but walked silently forward and out of the door. Stephen looked after him, not understanding what had happened to his friend. He had seen the way he looked at him today and did not understand the reason. Then it became clear to him. John was just jealous of him. Understandably, he has to work all the time. When Stephen's life was going great, and now it would be even better. The notary didn't see him at the appointed time. He had to wait another half hour. But Stephen didn't care. There was no hurry now. Everything went as smoothly as possible. No one noticed anything. No one guessed anything, and he would wait. He waited a year, so now it's just a half hour for him. And finally, he was invited. He walked into the office with a smile and froze. First he saw her. She was sitting next to her father in his wheelchair, and she looked beautiful. It was Kelly, the living Kelly. Standing next to her was John. Stephen noticed that Kelly was holding his hand. He didn't realize what was happening. He thought at first that he was just going crazy with joy, or that he was just dreaming. And then he'd wake up, and it would all go away. It's not gonna happen. And he'd have everything just the way he wanted it. The cops came up to him, cuffed his hands. They talked about how he was accused of killing his wife. But he wasn't interested in hearing it. It came to him that everything was gone, that he had not become a millionaire and the owner of the company, that now he would be shut down and he would now be in jail. Then he looked at John, I remembered his words that he would not invite him to the wedding, that Stephen simply would not have time to come to them. So he knew everything. Well, why didn't he tell them? What do you care? He's still going to jail for killing his wife. Miranda dreamed of her only son having a rich life. She herself raised him alone, working 3 jobs to support him adequately. She had always thought that the more she invested in him, the greater the return. No one had ever canceled old age, and she didn't want to grow old in poverty. Here, graduated from the institute, Mom will try to find you a decent job, and the bride you fall. Mom, what kind of bride? Besides, you know I love Lisa, and we're planning to marry her. Don't be silly, Lisa. I don't want you to live like your father and me. He couldn't stand the poverty and he drank himself to death. Well, that's where he belongs. He's always been a weakling. You're a strong boy. So I'm asking you to take a more realistic view of life and not get down on yourself. I'll find you a rich bride. I'll do anything for that. By the way, I've already found you a job. It's a very big firm. Robert, you've probably heard of him. He's got branches all over the country. He's a very rich man with a daughter. She's handicapped. She was in a car accident with her mother when she was a kid. Her mother died, but her daughter survived, crippled. But that's okay. This is your chance, son. You don't have much time left to study. So right after the institute, you'll arrange everything there. Your job is to please the management. And then we'll get closer to our daughter. Mom, are you serious? Is that how you want me to live with a cripple? You think it's wrong not to live with a cripple, but to become a rich man. Believe me, this Robert would do anything for his daughter. He loves her very much and will do anything to make her happy. And he'll raise you up so you won't need anything. And I'll be by your side as always. I'll help you with advice if you need it. And your Lisa won't go anywhere. She'll be waiting. Besides, you can do anything for her. You'll buy her an apartment. And you'll go out with her. Or we'll think of something else. Stephen didn't really like Mom's plan. He planned that right after the institute, he and Lisa would start living together, rent an apartment, get a job, and then we would get married. But Mom, as always, decided everything in her own way. Lisa, my mom got me a job at a very big firm. Anyway, so far, our plans are a little off. Couldn't your mom get me a job too? I want to make good money too. I don't know, I'll talk to her. She's the one who made a deal with someone she knows, and she said she'd do her best. Well, you're my mother. You know, I know a lot of people, so she made a deal. Well, I'll be sure to ask about you. I'd love to work together. I'd always have you in my sights. You know how much I love you. I'd like that too. But I think your mom's got other plans that I can't get into. You know my mom. She wants what's best for me. But don't worry. We'll always be together. You'll see. I believe you. I just don't think it's going to be the same. Your mom is nice to me, but I can see she wouldn't want me to be your wife. A woman can sense that. No matter what I do, she doesn't like it. So I don't think we'll be together. Stephen was silent, but he realized he was wrong. His mom has completely different plans, and she really wants her son to become a rich man. She always told him as a child that when he grows up, she will do everything to ensure that they do not need anything. In fact, he didn't mind it himself. Didn't a rich life ever hurt anyone? Miranda met up again with her friend whom she had known for a long time. So, Sashenka, is there a place for my son at Robert's company? Miranda, I told you I'll do everything. Your son will work there. You can count on me. Of course, the position is modest, and the salary is small. But you understand, no one will hire him for a good job right away. And if he is clever, and I hope that your son is like you, he will not stay long in this place. He will quickly climb the ladder. Stephen, I think he'll do the right thing. He's a capable and intelligent boy. Listen, Miranda, as far as I know, you've known the Robert family for a long time. I heard he has a daughter with a disability. Yeah, it's a terrible tragedy. Only one daughter left alive. I don't know what happened there. I came to work there when it happened. You know, the kind of people they try not to talk about. But Robert adores his daughter, dusts her off. Kelly herself is a good girl, modest, kind, smart. She's graduating from college too, and most likely will ask her father to take her to his work. She's cool about the fact that she can't walk. She uses a wheelchair. I mean, what's the big deal? She's got security around her all the time, so they help her and there's no problem. As far as I know, her father didn't want her out of the house at all. He was afraid she'd be laughed at. You know how cruel young people are these days. But she insisted, and she made friends. In general, the girl lives like all of us. In fact, how else? With that kind of money and a colleague, you can live in peace, not like ordinary people. I understand, Miranda. There are so many different prosthetics nowadays. You see, she can actually get back on her feet. Plus, with their money, I don't think it'll be a problem. That's the thing. She can't have prosthetics. After the accident, she has serious problems with her body, with her heart. Trouble and stress is contraindicated. They've already checked everything. They've been everywhere, even to Germany. But everywhere the doctors said that she can't stand on prostheses. Her heart can't take it. Poor girl, so unlucky. She's not poor. Believe me, she's doing fine. Unlike you and me, even though we're healthy people, some people are lucky to be born with a golden spoon in their mouth. In our country, you have to work like hell to keep from starving. And if, God forbid, you get sick, it's a nightmare. There's not enough money for anything. Why are you so angry today? My Cindy happens to be asking for a new cell phone. Do you know how much it costs? So we had a fight about it. I'm raising her just like you raised your son. Where do I get that kind of money? I'm lucky with him in that sense. I've been explaining to him since he was a kid about the war and how hard it is for me, so he never asked me for anything. I guess you didn't talk to Cindy, and now she's all grown up and thinks you don't give her enough. So tell her to go to work, and she can buy her own cell phones. That's easy for you to say. She's a student of mine. How can I send her to work? I put up with it. She's doing the best she can. Sometimes I just don't have the strength. I understand. It's always like that with kids. It's okay. She's an adult. She'll soon realize everything, and better yet, she'll marry a rich man, and she won't know your dinner, and you won't be left out of pocket. You know what I mean? Oh, if only it were that simple. Don't be ridiculous. Cindy, you've got a girl with a college education.